And so we have other categories of like non-concrete things. We have things that don't have spatial temporal dimension, but they're nonetheless they nonetheless exist. So like, in the integers, right? So numbers.
The reality of abstractions. So this part of Sam's discussion would be so well informed by the beginning of infinity, the chapter on the reality of abstractions, or chapter 10 of the fabric of reality on the nature of mathematics. This kind of thing would enhance what he is saying here, because it gets a little confused, but let's listen to what he says.
There's a reality, there's an abstract reality to numbers. And it's philosophically interesting to think about these things. So they're not like, in some sense, they're real, and they're not merely invented by us. They're discovered because they have structure that we can't impose upon them, right? It's not like they're not fictional characters like, Hamlet and Superman also exist in some sense, but they exist at the level of our own fiction and abstraction. But it's like they're true and false statements you can make about Hamlet. They're true and false statements you can make about Superman, because our fiction, the fictional worlds we've created, have a certain kind of structure. But again, this is all abstract. It's all abstractable from any of its concrete instantiations. It's not just in the comic books and just in the movies. It's in our, ongoing ideas about these characters. But natural numbers or the integers don't function quite that way. I mean, they're similar, but they also have a structure that's purely a matter of discovery. It's not, you can't just make up whether numbers are prime. If you give me two integers, of a certain size, let's say you mentioned two enormous integers. If I were to say, okay, well, between those two integers, there are exactly 11 prime numbers, right? That's a very specific claim about which I can be right or wrong. And whether or not anyone knows I'm right or wrong. It's like, there's a domain of facts there, but these are abstract. It's an abstract reality that relates in some way that's philosophically interesting, metaphysically interesting to what we call real reality, the spatial temporal order, the physics of things.
Okay, as I say, by this time in the interview, the discussion between the two of them, Sam's been talking for 4 hours, which I regard as heroic. It seems like there were no breaks, as I say. I'm not sure. Anyways, real reality, he says, real reality. I think this is confusing. What he means is physical reality. There's no real reality, just reality, okay? And it has physical parts and it has abstract parts. So there's a physical reality and there's abstract reality. There would be no abstract reality, on my view, without a physical reality of some kind. Okay, that said, we'll get into that debate at some point. Nevertheless, you can consider something like my go-to example here is just the number 2. You could write down the numeral for 2, or you could write 4 over 2, or 5 minus 3, or 14 pi over 7 pi. You could go on forever like this, writing down different symbols, instantiations, representations, numerals. They all represent the number 2. Those representations are physical. Pixels on the screen at the moment. So when I say 5 minus 3, you're hearing sound waves representing the number 2. I can't write down the number 2. I can only write down symbols, numerals. The number itself is the thing that we abstract out from those representations. So you're looking at all these things, and the thing that is common between them is the abstract number 2. And it's not physical. It's independent of any and all of them. So where is that number? If it exists, if it's real, where is it? Well, that's the wrong question. It demands a spatio-temporal answer. It's asking for where in space is this thing, or where in time is this thing. It's nowhere in space and time. It's an abstraction. It occupies an abstract space of numbers, which is not a place in space or located at a moment in time. It just is. And when we start talking about space in this way, well, we've got a bit of an issue, because is the physical space really analogous to this abstract space? Are we just using this word space to indicate all of this variety of stuff? The physical space is just a whole sequence of points, if you like, infinitely many, a continuum. But the space of numbers is not like that. And so we've got a problem with language here. Nevertheless, abstractions are real. In what sense are they real? Well, you abstract them out from the physical instantiation of stuff. Some of them have this weird existence, like the next highest prime number, as I keep saying, hasn't been discovered yet. There's only a highest prime number known at the moment. But the other one, all the other ones that are the higher than it, bigger than it, exist. But where? Well, they're yet to be found. We're yet to instantiate them. But they exist in abstract space. Okay, let's keep going.